What's up, you guys? I am back with another video today, and I'm going to be talking about my scoliosis journey.
I think your girl fell in love with me. She say my fuck and my tongue gave a remedy. Oh yeah.
If you do not know what scoliosis is, it is a curvature in your spine that you usually get either mostly from growing. I don't know if you can be born with it. I'm pretty sure it just like happens when you grow, if you like grow too fast, which in my case is what happened to me. So basically, we're just gonna start from the beginning. So yeah. And I think 7th grade, start in 7th grade. Little me, just thriving, you know, in middle school. We have, our nurse like will come in for gym during like the fitness gram like section of the year, and we'll do like a scoliosis testing, and for that they use like this plastic thing that they just like put on your back. And so she did that for me, and there was no like sign of scoliosis or whatever according to my nurse at my school, and so didn't think anything of it, whatever, didn't have scoliosis. Nice, right? And then we go to my physical, and at my physical, my nurse did the same thing with the plastic like thing and put it up to my back, and she was like, I see like a curve in your back and whatever, and she was like, but it's more than what I'd say would be like, oh, it's nothing, like she'll grow out of it, so I think you should get x-rays for it. And we were like, okay. And so then we got like x-rays a couple weeks after, whatever, and my like nurse or whatever called my mom and was like, I'm sending this to this like back surgeon, and you need to go in and talk to him about it because it's pretty bad. We go in and we get a whole new set of x-rays, but this time instead of just like x-rays, I had to go in like this huge machine like that you stand in, and they like line you up and everything, and then it like goes up and like down or whatever and like takes an x-ray of your body. But for me, obviously, it was just my back. And so then we're in like the waiting room waiting for my surgeon to come in or whatever, and he comes in and he's like, okay, so we're gonna pull up the x-rays. As you can see, you'd probably be like, what the heck? So I had 2 curves, obviously, in the top and the bottom, and it was at a 45-degree curve in the beginning. And he was like, that's too, it's like past the point where a brace would help, but it's not exactly to the limit where you need surgery. And so I was like, okay, so what are we gonna do? And so he asked me if I had pain in my back, and I said I had pain in my lower back from sitting and standing or whatever. And he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna send you to this physical therapist in this building for scoliosis, specializes in scoliosis, and she'll help you out, see if that helps with the pain. I go to that physical therapist for a while. I didn't do the exercises at home. It did not help my pain at all. It didn't really do anything for me. So we go back to my surgeon. And so we went back to my surgeon, and he said to me that I did have a choice for surgery. And this was just like a checkup that I got because I just had to keep going in and getting checkups for my back to make sure it wasn't like increasing. And I just broke down and started crying. I was like, I do not want surgery. That is the last thing I'm gonna do. I'm not getting surgery. I looked at my mom and was like, I'm not getting surgery. That's not happening. And she was like, okay. My surgeon was like, okay. And I just went on. And so fast forward to 8th grade, in the spring, I played lacrosse. And so during practice, we would run in the beginning and stuff, and I started realizing when I would run, my back would hurt really, really badly. And it actually got to the point where I would have to slow my running, and I'd want to start crying because it hurt so bad in my lower back to run. And also, I was not allowed to go on trampolines or trampoline parks because of the pressure on my back. So I couldn't do anything like that. Otherwise, I'd hurt it even more. And then also what started really getting to me is how my body looked. So my shoulders were like off like this, and sometimes I even will like sit like this because that's what I'm so used to. But so my shoulders were like that, and obviously my hips were uneven, so I wore shorts, and one side of my shorts would be up higher than the other just because of how my hips were set. And then I had a big indent on the side, and then on this side of my back, if someone was taking a picture like this way and I was like standing and looking that way, this side of my back was like on the main side of the picture, I had like bump in my back because my rib cage was shift to make room for my spine. And so that really started getting to me. I did not like how that looked. It made me look like weird. I just did not like it at all. And so that was my main like reasoning for wanting to get the surgery. So we went back to my doctor. I said to my mom before we went in, I was like, I want to get the surgery. So we go in to my surgeon and we're just talking with him, blah, blah, blah. And before like I told him, he told me he wanted to get an MRI for my back to see if I had a permanent stress fracture in my lower back, because he thought that was what was causing my main pain. I got the MRI and I did have a stress fracture in my lower back. So I told my surgeon I want to get the surgery. And what came along with that was either he fixes my two curves or he fixes my bottom curve along with the stress fracture, but I would not have a lot of like moving or flexibility in my back because he'd be fixing like the bottom, like this like main part that like kind of helps you like move around, like your spine move. So that's how he would fix my stress fracture. But he also said that if we fixed the two curves, that the pressure would not be on my stress fracture or like my lower back, so this stress fracture would end up going away. So I decided to go with just fixing the two curves because I just wanted those to be gone. Well, I went a couple months probably, just like waiting for an opening. But then he was like, okay, I have an opening October 16th. And we were like, okay, I'll just have to miss school. It's whatever, it's fine. So we go in and talk to him, and he sets up times for me to get these different x-rays where I have to like move around and like set my hips to one side laying down just so you can get like different pictures of my curve or whatever. And then he starts telling me the details about my surgery. So basically I'd go in, I'd have the surgery. It's a 8 to 10 hour surgery. I would be in the hospital for 4 days, maybe 5. It just depends on how I recover myself. And then I would be out of school for 6 weeks. And then I'd be out of activities for 12 weeks. I obviously got a tutor when I was out of school just because of I was missing so much school. He told me more about like the risks and everything. There were a lot of risks, but of course they were very rare of happening. I think the like main one that could happen was an infection in my like my incision, and he gave us disinfecting wipes that I had to use the night before. He told me how I had to drink like, you know, like the apple juice like can things. Like I had to drink 3-4 of those the night before, and then 2 in the morning, just because it helps you from not being nauseous, just because you can't eat like from midnight to like the next day or whatever. And then he set me a date to actually get a hospital tour, so it was like a tour of where I would be. So about 2 days before my surgery, I went on that tour, and they showed me around. They showed me an IV because I've never seen one before, so they showed me an IV that would obviously go right here, but I actually needed 2. I needed one in my hand and one right here. It was the night before my surgery, and we did the disinfecting wipes, the apple juice. I went to bed. I woke up at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I drank more of the apple juice, and then we went into the hospital around 6 o'clock. And so we get there at 6, and we're just waiting and waiting in the lobby. I wasn't really nervous. I didn't really feel nervous at that moment. I was kind of more like, it's not like hitting me yet that I'm actually getting the surgery. And then they call my name. And in that room, it was my grandma, my 2 other grandparents, and my parents. And my parents and I go back with the nurse, and my mom and I go in the bathroom because I had to use the disinfecting wipes again, and they gave me a gown to change into. And in the bathroom, my mom was just talking to me, and I just started crying. I started crying, and my mom was like, you're gonna be fine, it's whatever. So I stopped crying, wanted to act strong, so I came out, and they put me on the bed, and the thing under me like blew up, and they put a warm blanket on me. Then they put the IV in, and I didn't even notice, I didn't even feel it. And that was literally the main thing I was worried about, the IV. That's what I was scared of, the IV. And then my anesthesiologist came in. He was like, hi, I'm gonna be your anesthesiologist. He's a really nice guy. And then my surgeon comes in. He's like, okay, are you ready? Like, just starts talking to me. I was like, yeah. He's like, he looks at my parents, he was like, it's gonna be a long surgery, probably 9 hours just because of her curve. And my curve actually increased to a 54-degree curve. And I'm out of 8th grade now. I'm in the beginning of 9th grade year, my freshman year. It was time for my parents to go. They were crying, like, really hard. Like, my parents were really crying, like, hard. And it made me upset just because, like, I don't know, it just kind of worried me, because if they're worried, I felt like I should be worried, but it was whatever. And so they start wheeling me down the hallway, and that's when I'm kind of getting out of it a bit. There's like 4 people around me, like it was like 3 guys and like 1 girl, like nurses or whatever, and they were like wheeling me down and brought me into this room. And there were these huge lights, and they kept me in the bed I was in. And then I look over to the wall, and the last thing I remember is seeing 2 pictures, like big pictures of my spine up on like the wall. And then that's the last thing I remember. And so it ended up being an 9-hour surgery, and my parents and my grandparents sat through that all in the waiting room. And then I get put in like the post-op room, and I don't remember it. My parents didn't take a video of it, which I'm kind of really mad about. But they told me that when I was like on the medication or whatever, every guy that walked in, I was like, you're handsome, or something like that. And then I'm in love with Stephen Curry. And so I was talking about how him and I were going to get married, and no one could tell ESPN, the secret couldn't get out, blah, blah, blah. And then I was put in like my hospital room or whatever that I'd be staying in for the next 4 days, in 3 nights, 4 days. And so actually during surgery, they had to put another thing like in my main, in like an artery right here. I think that's an artery. I'm not sure. But so I had an IV here, and here, and here. Yeah. And then I had like this thing on my finger or whatever. And I had a button that I could press every 15 minutes, and it would just send me more medication so I wouldn't like for pain and stuff. And so the first night I slept pretty good, blah, blah, blah. And then the second day, I didn't really eat throughout the whole 4 days. I just wasn't hungry, like at all. And nothing, and like everything in my back was moving, so it was really weird. And my surgeon did tell me they did have tough love. So the next day I had to start walking, or I had to start like trying to walk. And so my therapist comes in, and she like tells me how to get out of bed. And when I sit up, I just like start like passing out. Like it gets really hot, my hearing goes away, my vision is going out. So she lays me back down, and it took a couple tries to the point that we just decided to move me to a chair to sit in, and then I would get up and start walking. You can tell in the video that my shoulders are still like off kind of, because everything was still moving and I wasn't used to knowing that my back was like straight now. And I'm gonna put a picture also of like what my spine looked like now with the rods and everything in. So basically for the next days nothing really happened. I just walked, I did some physical therapy, I walked upstairs, and also I actually did have the only side effect for me that my surgeon had never seen happen before is my heart rate went up to 200, but it came back down. And my T waves, which like the waves on like the monitor, were upside down. And so he didn't really think anything of it. He just said it's probably because everything was moving around. If it was still happening, we'd just go into a cardiologist or whatever after my surgery, like after I was kind of recovered. People came in to visit me. My friends came and hung out with me. I got presents, which was very nice of my friends, and my family. And basically my spine. They straightened it. They put 2 metal rods in on each side and then 19 screws. And then it was time for me to go home. So I went home, and for the next 6 weeks, basically, I was in a lot of pain because by mouth medication, the pain was awful, and I hated the medication. It made me not be able to sleep. It made me feel yucky. I just did not like it at all. And then eventually I stopped taking the medication, and I would have to get up and walk around and stuff like that. And so walking was like really hard. It like really, well, it did really like tire me out, just because I don't know, because my spine was straightened or whatever. And then, honestly, the pain for about 10 days was really, really bad. And then once I hit that like 10-day mark, I just didn't have pain. It was like weird. Like I felt great. Like on that literally the 10th day, I like went out for a whole day. I started sleeping in my own bed. And the only pain I had is when you get this surgery, depending on how big your scar is, I mean your like thing is for them to fix, I don't have any movement in my spine, so I can't, like, as people can hunch over and stuff, I can't do that. I can only bend from my waist. So when I got up, like most people probably like just like kind of like get up, I had to pull myself up because I could only go from my waist, and it was very difficult. I had, from like doing that, I don't know, I think it was just the nerves coming back, but my shoulder blades like would hurt really, really badly, like super bad pain once I would get up, but once I got up I was fine. Started to be able to bend more down from my waist and stuff like that. I was getting used to it and everything. And I actually did grow from my surgery. I grew 2 inches. And so basically, after the 6 weeks, it was hard, the 6 weeks of not being in school. I was definitely ready to go back to school. I was kind of ready to go back early, honestly. I did not like the tutoring at all. But then once I got back to school, everything was good. I was cleared early, actually. But my surgeon was a nice guy and let me stay out of gym, so it was all good. But I was cleared for everything. I could wear a backpack even though how heavy it was. I could jump, I could run, I could do anything really, and I'm allowed to go on trampolines. I'm not, people think that once you have this, you're limited to stuff, but I'm not limited to anything. It's just I have to go at things a different way. Like, as I can only bend from my waist. I just can't hunch my back. I can't do backflips or anything, or I can't do a back bend because of my back. But, like, honestly, it's not really a big deal. It's not like I'm a gymnast. That would be bad if I was a gymnast, because my career of being a gymnast would probably be over. Basically, that was really it. I mean, I went in for my heart. Everything was fine with it. My like heart rate went back down to where it should be. And now, I mean, at first I could tell that I had like rods in my back. Like I could feel it, kind of like, it was like, you know how a brace feels on your hand? It felt like that, but on my spine. But now it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels perfectly fine. I can't even tell that I got it. I mean, the only thing that shows is my scar, and my scar does go down my whole back, top to bottom, but it's very light and very thin, so you can't really tell. I mean, you can tell, but I can't tell that much. It's not a big deal to me. I'm used to bending from my waist now. That's not a big deal to me, or anything like that. The only thing that bothers me is that my nerves in my back are damaged. So some parts of my back I cannot feel if you press on them, or if you have a numb foot and you like press against it or like itch it, I have that feeling in my back and some parts of my back, mainly my lower back. But that's really all. That was the only side effect that happened after my surgery. I'm very grateful that my surgery went very, very well. It went almost perfectly. First, I was kind of like, when is this going to be over? I'm so sick of this. I'm sick of the pain. But then once like everything was over, I was like, wow, I'm so happy I got that. That was the best decision of my life, getting that surgery. I got all caught up in my classes. My school was very supportive and all that type of stuff. So, and it's kind of like a cool story, honestly. I like when people ask about my scar, like if people don't know. I like when they're like, what is that from? Because I feel like I kind of get to tell them something that I was able to get through in my life. I know it's not like very big, but it was a major surgery and it was my first surgery. So yeah, I'm sorry if this was like all over the place or if I kept saying or so or whatever, but I really hope you enjoyed. This was a long video. So yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll be back with another video soon. So yeah, bye.